Now, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Praetorian. It's been a while since I could do an episode of the Praetorian, and I'm really glad that I was able to. Tonight's going to be a special edition. Tonight we are going to cover some politics that are taking place in England, which it's also happening in other countries, but this one is specifically towards England. And tonight we have Mark Edworthy, who's going to be opening up with the presentation to what we're going to be discussing. So after I'm done talking, I'm going to hand it over to him. I'd like to welcome you, Mark. Mark's my co-host. Welcome to the show, Mark. And with us too is my brother, Robert Hanson. So I think this is the first time Robert's been on the Praetorian, just the Praetorian itself. So welcome to the show, Robert. And with that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Mark so that he can bring up the talking points. We can go into it from there. So let me get muted out real quick. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Sure. As of the 26th of this month, so actually yesterday, depending on which country you're in, the UK, the UK's Children and Wellbeing and Schools, the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act came into enforcement. It contains a lot of information about a lot of areas in relation to schools and children welfare, including things like school meals, breakfast clubs, school uniforms, lots of stuff. Clause to make consequential provisions, but the thing I'm interested in is part 3, which is in relation to online safety. Back in the 15th of this month, so last Monday, Keir Starmer came out with the current Prime Minister came out with a press statement which was broadcast in quite a few news channels, mainstream news channels, and no doubt a lot of people have seen it. But talking about children's online welfare online. One of the arguments that he made, and that is incorporated into the Act, is I think it's June, July next year, it will be expected to actually ban children, so people under the age of 16, from accessing various social media platforms, or limiting their access, which could include Facebook, potentially the full version of YouTube, so not YouTube for kids, but YouTube, X, Twitter. One of the interesting things they actually mentioned, which I find extremely interesting, it didn't mention anything about Blue Sky. Not being able to access, or being restricted access to in the social media platforms. This raises a number of different issues, including virtual private networks, and there is a provision in the UK Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act, which actually amends the 2023 Online Safety Act. which was it doesn't actually specify virtual private networks themselves. The section 70 on the child safety and welfare makes a condition and which amends section 214 or adds a addition to section 214A of the Online Safety Act, which makes that which states that the Secretaries of State may, for the purpose of protecting relevant children being children of a specified age, 16, and different ages may be specified for specific purposes, but for any child up to the age of 16, to prevent access by those relevant children to specified internet services which these services provide, which according to a recent Hansard report, a recent House of Commons meeting, could actually be related to VPNs, virtual private networks, which the government, UK government, has stated in the past that they will not ban commercial virtual private network provisions. This section allows them to limit and potentially ban virtual private networks, or at least for under 16-year-olds. The Office of Communication has stated that it's potential for children at this present moment to purchase a commercial virtual private network contract. But as far as even by their own figures, and figures that are backed up by a independent organisation, the I can't even find it now. The Open Rights Group, which is a private limited not-for-profit company in the UK, it demonstrates that only approximately 8 to 10% of children have direct access, either purchasing contracts for or have direct access through guardians and parents to virtual private network contracts. So the Ofcom is, in effect, what Ofcom is stating is that they would try and limit virtual private network or commercial virtual private network provisions for anybody who cannot prove that they're over the age of 16, which raises the question of digital ID. We already know that that under this current government, it is planned to have mandatory digital ID for the right to work by the end of this government's session, which is meant to be in 2029. Even though that they've sort of been umming and ahhing about that anyway. Interestingly enough, the government, the current UK government, has introduced a .gov.uk online provision, which is meant to amalgamate all government provided, so state provided, public access provided provisions into one sort of centralized portal platform, portal, and we know that Anthropic PBC is the government has always got contracts with Anthropic PBC to bring large language model assistance services into the .gov.uk platform. We also know that Anthropic is actually doing research into their own digital ID schemes at this present moment. So it could potentially be digital identification aided by or being resourced or being deployed by Anthropic. There was a question about Palantir technologies, but Palantir technologies opted out of UK digital ID initiatives back in September, October last year. Yeah, that's really just the sort of reason on that.
It's pretty interesting because, like, we were talking about the Makerfield results in the election that came out there, and then we were also talking about doing this. And the thing that really stuck out to me when it comes to protecting the children narrative was the fact that the UK is going to require ID or face scans before you can make a social media account. That's kind of disturbing, you know what I mean? And then I was telling you about they can literally take your fingerprints by you touching the power button on your freaking flat phone.
I don't believe that there is any sort of technology because at this point, because as far as I understand it, operating systems work, Android and iOS works at this present moment. Not to say that it's going to change, but how they work at this present moment is that that data is stored on the phone, encrypted.
That doesn't make it any safer. I mean,
yeah, precisely. Yeah. I can only base this on the news that I know and data that's available at this moment.
Now, have you how deep have you gotten into the whole thing about the government implementing like a full ban for social media access for children under the age of 16? That's what I heard.
Yeah, this relates to the actual again, Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act, and also the amendment that Section 70 allows for or brings to the Online Safety Act 2023, the inclusion of Section 214A.
This reminds me of the lawsuits they just had with addictive features in social media that they've been pushing. They said there's going to be more of them that are coming out too. And that right there is something that Keir Starmer, he actually announced it. That it's aiming to protect children from harmful addictive features of social media, if you remember correctly. He mentioned,
if you remember rightly, is it the Online Safety Act of Australia 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is the Online Safety Act of 2021. There's all the provisions in that to restrict children's access to social media.
How do they do that at them private schools over there? You know, where children are in school there? And they sleep there and all that, but
they'll be regulated by this internal school network, wouldn't it?
Okay, and what part of the government? What part of the government is going to oversee the thing of protection of identity of children then. Because if they're going to be having that set up to where you got to have identity, your photograph, and all that, all your information, they got to be somewhere to protect the thing of the wrong people getting hold of identities and using them.
And now we come to the crux of this. So we know that the measures that the UK government has been producing, I believe a Ukrainian company has been involved in this in last year or two. And there was some massive data leaks. We also know that the government has, states provisions have been suffering from a number of data leaks already. There was a report, I think, at the start of the year, where the people that we brought back from Afghanistan, so translators, people that required additional protection because of the 2000 conflict. Their data, a lot of the data was not leaked just once, but twice. And I've seen a lot of other reports about various other data. In fact, I believe that recently there was medical records, NHS medical records. There was a data leak on that.
Okay, but that's what I'm referring to. So if they're going to be passing that law about children, they need to be able to handle that situation of identity theft of that type of data. Because it's already been shown that it's bad enough that when parents use their kids as identity to get electric turned on or their name, okay, and then the kids got to, when their parents passes away, got to clear that all up at their expense. So they need to really make sure that, because we have that big thing of identity theft now in today's time, and they're going to do that where you have to have a that type of ID. What kind of safeguards are they talking about? And this is the type what I'm referring to. There's different types of security.
Actually, funny enough, Company's House, the website, or what we used to call Somerset House, Company's House, provisions, which is the provisions where private sector companies register all their details for things like His Majesty's Inland Revenue Services and a public filing of the company. There was a hack. There was a security hole in there last year where if you, as a company owner, logged in under your own account and you just modified a few syntax on the URL bar, so rather than let's say your company record is stored under /0001, and you could type in /0002 and be able to access the private contact details of other companies, CEOs and directors. It was reported that it was fixed quite quickly after it was found, but the issue remained for at least a good year beforehand.
Well,
so in theory, somebody could have accessed somebody else's a company director's information that they had no relation to, contact details, private phone numbers, email, by just changing syntax.
So, in other words, what is the UK standards as for any internet company, what kind of standards they gotta have to support the government, okay, for security measures, okay? Because here in the U.S., there was 3 companies about 5 years ago was removed from security for the internet, okay, and all things, and they were removed from it because they were no longer able to hold their their security measures properly like they were supposed to. And there was 5 companies here in the U.S. that was removed from that situation completely, and they were point blank said that their stuff was not qualified enough anymore for the workmen of for security of the internet. So
Okay.
what is yours over there in the UK?
Under the Data Protection Act 2018, there is the General Data Protect UK's version of the General Data Protection.
Yeah, but no, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the company itself. Okay.
That's
What
for the company
company-
to decide themselves.
No.
Yeah.
But what I'm referring to.
Are you talking about the technology, the actual technology? That's for the company to decide for themselves. The General Data Protection Regulation sets out a form of regulation of not the technology, but the principles of security itself.
This also gets me. This also gets me because, like, I've been actually checking out a lot of the stuff that happened in 2024 with Ofcom. Like, they've been setting out procedures and regulations since 2024, which is supposed to regulate illegal activities on the internet. And they've already set down like a network, a web, where they've actually gone through and they've set up some kind of procedure, and everybody who is connected with the UK or in the UK, because this can affect other websites that's outside of the UK if they have connections there. But
That's it. In effect, it only affects companies that have offices within the jurisdiction or partnership jurisdictions of the UK. So, you could argue the EU, and the 4chan issue, because 4chan doesn't abide by. Hasn't got offices in the UK. It's mainly based in the US. And we know that, and we talked about it on previous shows, Ofcom, the Office of Communication, has been trying to prosecute 4chan for not complying with the Data Protection Act, and because 4chan is based in the US, solely, as far as I can remember, and there's the entire First Amendment point. Ofcom is trying to prosecute, but they can't do anything because they haven't got no jurisdictional power.
Now, now, from what I've heard, they have a child safety regime, and it was fully in effect by the summer of 2025. Is that true?
Okay, the Act came in 2023 and was enacted in 2023 and then came into force in 2024.
No, the child safety regime is what they're referring to. This is supposed
to... I'm not sure what you mean by regime, because obviously it has to be backed up by legislation.
Yeah. Now Parliament and Ofcom published like a guidance on how providers should like carry out risk assessments. So they're actually like they're actually making assessments, and these companies have to comply. It's that they refer their children's risk assessments is what they refer to them as, and they have to comply.
Actually, I think that was specifically this is the specific point that they're fighting of 4chan. Over because 4chan refused to give them any reports on their provisions, and obviously because of jurisdictional issues, Ofcom can't really do anything about it.
How this AI is going to fit into all this?
This is a part. That's actually that's part of the bigger plan here. Like, we've actually been doing some pretty interesting shows here lately, and like whenever I was talking about the faceless accounts on YouTube, that's a very important thing, because what it is they want people on the internet to freaking have an internet identity where they're verified, they have faces on their freaking on their accounts, so that can be linked to them as an internet identity. Okay, now a lot of people are going to be affected by that. Now, when they go in and they do the AI stuff, they want to talk to you about AI slop and all that, and how we need to get rid of AI slop. And the reason why they want to do that is because they want to put this stuff into the AI so that freaking it can recognize that this is actually from this company and this is from this company, and that's how they're actually putting.
Yeah, I don't like the use of the term AI in there. I've always just pattern recognition. Yeah, but you know my argument on that one.
And that's all part of the detection. You know what I'm saying? If they can put that into place, then they can pretty much determine. And like, this is also affecting the search engines as well. Okay, so they have to have the system set up to where it's traceable. And they want you to have a freaking internet identity. They want to be able to have, like we were talking about YouTube, how they're trying to move away from search engine SEO. Okay, and the views on YouTube are dropping because now they're moving away from SEO and they're using their new programs.
Well, I don't think they're swapping it to. I think it's just the pattern recognition. Then it's just an additional service,
and it's actually going into effect too with the search engines, and they're using. I forgot the name of it that I was talking about the other night, but it's an actual when we were talking about what they were with the faceless accounts. Okay, they're actually working on putting this tracing, this ID verification into the search engines and stuff like that, so that freaking you will have to be verified through it. And it's pretty intense. I can pull it up here in a minute or so.
Just to answer your question,
it's Synth ID.
Okay, but here's the thing. Problem with that is, for people that's in the government, okay, high security people, you're talking about, because they got the stuff now that they can read your retina, okay, and the U.S. is talking about security, okay. Same thing with the UK. Look at the government the way they are, okay. They don't want to take a chance of wrong people able to get hold of information. Because if you're able to not take a copy of your retina, okay, and put it into a thing for later on for use, okay, it's a good possibility Because
Well, that's
Yeah, that's a
technology.
oh,
Yeah, but you
That's a
open your eyes.
possibility,
No,
but
wait, hold on.
like
Let
right
him
now.
talk, Robert. Let him talk.
Okay.
But at this present moment, when it comes to facial identification, we're talking about how big your nose is, how far your eyes are, the distance between your lip and your nose and lip and your chin. We aren't talking about retina sort of scans. This isn't what Blade Runner.
Yeah, well, this isn't. Well, see, this is what you're talking about, Robert. Is like outdated sci-fi. Like back in the day, it was cool to freaking have the sci-fi recognition thing, eye recognition. They don't even need that no more. They got video cameras in the airports.
And besides, if you're taking let's say a photograph from a camera like the one I'm using here, or a camera like I'm using on this phone, you aren't going to get that much. Well, generally, the average user isn't going to get that much detail to actually be able to map the intrinsic details of the eye retina.
Well, they can. We call it superimpose a photo of your face, your
Yeah,
eye.
but that would be
Real quick.
the argument then would be the manipulation of the image.
Yeah,
Therefore,
well,
could be there could be legal issues there as well. It's like yeah.
Well, hopefully they understand that and they don't abuse it, because you know what I'm saying. Because I could see the whole thing the way it's going with LLMs and what you don't like saying AI. You know what I mean when it comes to the overreach that they're doing here, because it's like I said, this whole thing with synth ID. It makes perfect sense why they're doing that now. They're trying to push this freaking this formula. Basically it's their freaking that they want to regulate the internet and they want to close it off. You got to ask yourself, why is it that YouTube is willing to lose that much viewership, and why is it that so many freaking of these ad companies are going to lose out on money because they throw this synth ID into place and they just completely eliminate SEO altogether? It's going to run completely off AI.
Also, interestingly enough, when we come to YouTube, there's been talks about or rumours about the British government trying to promote the BBC on YouTube. So if you are searching for a news channel or news story, at least for British users, it would be the idea is to allow YouTube to overly promote the BBC. Again, this is only a sort of concept at the moment. Nothing has been written into legislation and thing. So yeah, that's an idea.
Well,
So it'd be what was it? Ardeen, who was the New Zealand Prime Minister during COVID? Ardeen Jacqueline Ardeen, wasn't it? During the COVID situation, 2021, she made a press statement and stated that New Zealand residents should only trust government sources and shouldn't believe in any other sources because of potential misinformation or disinformation.
Well, this kind of goes back to the old British motto, though. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, that's the way they always did things. And like most people, the older generations, and you know this is true, they just fell in line. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to all that other stuff that's
not quite fall in line because they access to information was that much more limited.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. They were more inclined to fall in line back then than what you guys are. You guys are more rebellious and rambunctious than what your parents and your grandparents were. You know what I mean? Like, you got a little bit of a rebel streak going on inside of you now that you got the internet and you got more information, you know?
Yeah, and with like with all the new stuff that's coming out with technology,
They can't push the same shit on you guys as what they could your grandparents or your parents. You know what I'm saying?
They could regulate. They could create
That's what they're worried
agreements
about.
with, let's say, YouTube, and let's say, yeah, you will promote the BBC.
Exactly, and that's what they're trying to push. It's just like I came across something that really struck me as odd. Okay, now the Prime Minister emphasized that features like the infinite scroll are deliberately designed to be addictive. Okay, now even while saying that, freaking, it was also mentioned that they acknowledged that teenagers will inevitably attempt to bypass the rules using workarounds like VPNs. But then the government started going into the idea that they maintain that the laws in essence just like an essential expression of societal values. You know, out of nowhere. Oh, don't worry. This is just more about societal values. You know, and that they compared it to laws prohibiting alcohol sales to minors. I mean, literally. You know what I mean? It's like they compared it to freaking selling alcohol to minors, and then in the same freaking breath that they're talking about the internet being addictive.
and that's and one other thing with this internet, with all this going on too, with the internet, we're not saying that in some way or fashion, it's their way of controlling the thing of that one group where you feel like you're a boy, but instead you're a girl. I can't think of that group that's over there, real big in the
Yeah,
Transgender.
it's this government's way of controlling the
that as
now
well
attempt.
too. Yeah, but that's another way of them controlling that situation too, is to make sure not all that data and the information getting out there as well too.
Well, see, you're getting excited. He said a key word. Oh, hold up. He said a key word that you need to hear, and it's called narrative.
I wasn't just talking about a single narrative. I'm talking about it doesn't matter what subject it is. You could talk about vaccines. You could talk about immigration issues. You could talk about I don't know.
Keywords,
And keywords go. Keywords. Okay, it goes back to SEO. Okay, it goes back to synth
It's
ID.
really, again, just controlling narratives. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to, because what they're doing is they can use that for a wide variety of different uses for their own personal gain by it too. Because when you don't want a lot of information getting out about whatever, and there should be an organization to cover the fact that a lot better than for identity of children. Okay, because we have that problem here in the U.S. We got the same thing about the same kind of law as what they're trying to pull there to do there as well. That we have that same law here, and it seems awful odd that you look at the parallels of what they're doing there in the UK and how many other countries are being affected by that same law too. Okay, and look how each country is different, but at the same time, look how it does the area there in them countries, how it affects them countries. The the student.
It's a good example of controlling narrative. Just yesterday, Thursday, it was brought to the attention of the House of Commons in the UK that the Labour government either planning or has opened up 12 new immigration centres. Has opened up 12 new immigration centres. This was never discussed in the House of Commons. There was no information given to the the correct ministers in relation to the constitution. And Lindsay Hall, the Speaker of the House of Commons, actually was extremely furious with the government yesterday, in effect stating that it was just opening up these immigration centres without notifying Parliament and therefore notifying the public. It's anti-democratic.
Well, I'm gonna point something out that I found out too here. Like it goes. I mean, yeah, I know it'd be cool to kind of clump it up into like everybody's thoughts on immigration, but let me tell you something that's really weird about
Just
this.
one example, just maybe.
Here in the United States, you know how Anthropic is involved in all that, right?
Yeah, but also you've got Palantir.
Let me explain something here. This is the weird part here about, because here in the United States, okay, there was an instance that happened here where the government set out a government directive that suspended access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 here in the United States. Okay, and the reason for that was because the article that I read said that that the U.S. government announced issues or that they issued an export control directive forcing the company to immediately suspend all access to its newly released AI models for anyone of any foreign national, including Anthropic's own non-U.S. employees, from accessing these two specific models due to national security concerns. Okay.
Which could be an office, let's say, based in a Anthropic office in the UK, or it could even be a, let's say, a foreign contractor that enters the US to work on a contract basis for Anthropic.
Well, my point is they're cracking down with you guys when it comes to Anthropic. Well, Anthropic is actually going to be used by you guys, aren't they?
Yeah. As I pointed out, just now.
What is Anthropic?
Anthropic PBC, Public Broadcasting Company, Public Broadcasting Communication. It's a private sector company who creates the Claude large language model system. Another checkbox.
No one.
But they also and there's plans of incorporating their large language model into the .gov.uk provisions, and also as I pointed out, Anthropic is actually working on their own digital identification system.
Like a home office in the UK. How does that work, and what is their function in all that?
In what way?
Like
home office is
office in communications.
internal security and internal policing.
Yeah, home office.
Yeah.
If I was wondering how do they what are they what do they do
Well,
in
hold on a minute.
in the walls?
Hold on a minute. Now, when Robert talks about home office, he's been keeping track on this whole thing with when it comes to home office. There's a company that's called Home Office that he's always keeping track of, and I don't know for sure if that's the same organization.
It's not the governmental body.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's a home office gov.uk.
So that would be a governmental body. That would be the body that oversees policing and internal security. Technically,
I guess so.
MI5 is it? I always get confused between MI6 and MI5. MI5 is internal, isn't it?
So Robert needs to stop hanging out on websites called Home Office. Like he like 5 years ago, he's telling me, man, you need to check this platform out. And then he starts talking about Home Office. I'm like, no, it can't be. So I'm thinking he's like bouncing around, hanging out on this thing, mistaking it for. But come to find out, no, Robert's going and hanging out on a government office website. See?
Okay.
He's the one that also. He's also the one that got me in trouble on Facebook when they started giving you warnings and stuff if you posted Alex Jones on your groups. So, I said, okay, I'm going to stop letting Alex Jones be posted on the Praetorian on Facebook. And guess what? Robert did. Robert just kept on posting Facebook, Alex Jones, Facebook, Alex Jones. I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
So he gets me in trouble. But yeah.
Remember, like my Ofcom, Office of Communication is regulated and directly regulated by the Department of Department for Science, Innovation and Technology.
Now, Home Office, I wouldn't doubt they're involved, to be honest. I was just joking about it.
Yeah. I think also, I can't remember the department, media, Department for Culture, Media and Sports as well. So actually, I think it's changed its name. Actually, it's now Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sports, and knew it changed its name quite recently. But Ofcom is a technically a Crango.
What is that? Crango.
A non-government organisation, but it is regulated by the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport, as well as Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. And there are a couple of other departments that will have some influence.
So what everyone's talking about, the new walls and all that they're talking about, we'll be going through them as well too.
Okay, I pulled up some information for you on the Home Office, and I asked it if Home Office would be involved in what we're discussing here, as well as Ofcom, and it said
there would be.
It said that the Home Office is actively involved, but it does not run the day-to-day enforcement. That responsibility belongs to Ofcom. Now, the legislation divides control by keeping the government in charge of broad policy and lawmaking, while the independent regulators access the rules. So the Home Office handles domestic security, policing, and counter-terrorism under Offline Safety Act frameworks. The primary involvements are defining criminal harms, encryption disputes, policy referrals, and the Ofcom roles are writing the codes, issuing penalties, and site blocking.
Right?
Yeah, again,
What,
the day-to-day operation.
What site blocking?
Literally blocking sites.
Yeah, blocking off.
Okay, like Amazon and all them do. I mean, the search engine, like Google,
Very.
Microsoft. If you don't pay them, that they block your site.
No, it's nothing to do with payments.
No, they say
okay.
they made a statement about a few years ago that they're starting to do this. Where
Well, no, it's he's
No.
like it's not a money. It's not to make money off of. They are
No.
literally trying to shut you down because of the shit coming out of your mouth, Robert. Literally, that's the only reason why they do it. They hate everything that you are saying so much that they want to go on and they want to shut it down. It's just like I brought up the shit about Activision, and I said back when that was going on, I was like, why is it that the EU is so freaking... Why is it they emphasize so much that freaking Activision, in order to do their freaking their selling off of the freaking company the way they did? I forgot exactly how it went down, but the EU stepped in and said that they would not freaking say that it was okay by them if freaking they didn't put their information on the freaking web, okay, on the cloud gaming. I was like, why was that so important to them? And today it makes so much sense to me now, because these people want to creep in. They want to ban people freaking in these game chats. They want to control and censor it because freaking this is where they don't freaking know what's happening in the chat rooms.
Not only that, it's worth remembering that the majority of computer games are downloaded using online stores such as Steam,
Not anymore.
Good Old Games.
So, see, I was under that impression too until I started learning about freaking they have online freaking games that are doing exactly what the downloads would do. Like on the downloads, and if I go off the game, while I'm off the game, freaking it doesn't update, okay? So every time I go on to the game, it's updating in the background. If I get on these platforms and I freaking subscribe to them, they can do freaking the downloads and or not the downloads, but the uploads and everything. It'll be set up and ready to go. So I go on there and I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Now the weird part about that is
it's two different.
Right.
Sorry. It's two different concepts. If you download a game or a client, and then you download all the assets to go with that client, or you have a sort of online which could be browser-based. We saw this back in the old days of all those Flash, Macromedia, and later to be Adobe Flash games.
So let me ask you this. With Home Office UK, how many other sections is that connected to, like Canada, Australia,
It's
or
a
New Zealand?
UK government body. It's a UK government body. It's only regulates UK activities.
Yeah, but I thought that what you call that? Since Australia, Canada was part of England,
Canada's got their own home office. Australia's got their own office. The US has got its own home office. Well, maybe called in the US, but yeah, each country have their own. channel.
Oh no, we don't. We don't have a home office. We don't worship.
You have some.
We don't worship the devil. We aren't.
Yeah, it would be a lot of us would be state by state, wouldn't it? So you would have
we have
states.
what they call we have what they call the not so secret, the NSA, which
Yeah,
actually
yeah, but I was thinking more on the point of local police. And
So how?
well the NSA
being
is interesting because like you know how you have the home office that goes and does all of the like the not the day-to-day stuff. The NSA actually in joint operations with England and with Israel, they created a freaking like a cyber freaking police thing. I forgot what it was. We talked about it before.
Cyber.
I suppose the nearest thing to a federal
Cyber
home
security.
office the US have got, it would be the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Maybe.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
maybe.
Right.
That I mean
FBI.
that could
So-
be it.
So when they did that thing about raiding people's text messaging, other places and all that, were they part of it, or did they try to eliminate that situation completely, where people were data going through people's phones, text messaging and all that, where they were reading, like in the UK, they were wanting to read people's email and all that.
Okay. Under UK law, it requires a warrant to be able to access or a natural arrest.
Yeah, but no, they were doing that
So,
thing.
and the warrant or an arrest requires what's the word? Relevant suspicion. It needs there needs to be there is a an amount of suspicion that has to be demonstrated.
Oh. Yeah, okay, but what I was wondering is, in what way what would their functions be in the process of for security of all the phone networks? They government offices, government officials. What was
But
what
the
would
government
they?
can't.
No, I'm
The
talking
Home
about.
Office can't just trawl through entire collections of SMS messages or MMS messages. They've got to be able to provide reasonable suspicion and actually pinpoint an individual or a group of individuals.
Okay. But what I was more or less referring to is where if someone was trying to do that, try to access someone's information on their phone, wouldn't they would be able to find out. What I'm saying is, as an organization that for government employees, like people that deals with high risk, talking back and forth.
That could potentially be a violation of the Data Protection Act
Yeah.
2018. Could potentially be a violation of the General Data Protection
Okay,
Act.
but
Okay, I have something that I want to break in here on, and this is the UK AISI. Do you know anything about that, Mark?
AISI.
Yeah, the AI Security Institute.
This is some private sector company.
It was actually launched originally as the AI Safety Institute before being renamed to reflect like a tighter focus on national security and catastrophic risks. Now, it's the world's first state-backed research organization dedicated to evaluating the safety and capabilities of advanced frontier artificial intelligence models. It's a structure and it's basically a structure in to be like oversight over freaking artificial intelligence.
Okay, I'm just scanning from the side. They've got a gov.uk address. We do a quick research.
It's straight. It works. It operates directly under the UK government's Department of Science, Innovation and Technology.
So they're another agency, much like Ofcom,
Mm-hmm.
another technically external agency, but governed by specific government bodies.
Mm-hmm. Now, instead of focusing on everyday ethical concerns like algorithm bias or copyright, the AISA focuses heavily on extreme risk, national security threats, and preventing catastrophic surprises from rapid AI advances, which means they are terrified that something's going to happen out of this AI stuff. In my
Not
opinion.
necessarily, but just a research institute, or the AI Security Institute.
They-
No, they do that. Yeah, so sorry, they've got AISI was up in the corner, and they call themselves the AI Security Institute. So why not just call themselves the Artificial Intelligence Security Institute?
Yeah, and
But they are just a research organisation within the Department of Science in the
This institute has secured landmark voluntary access agreements with like major freaking AI labs. That includes OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind. To say
well, we know there's been contracts with Google, DeepMind, and previous UK governments, or with UK government, the whole thing, for several years now.
Now, are you
good 10 years now?
are you familiar with the term red teaming?
Nope.
So, red teaming for extreme harms is how they put it. Now, they say that the AISI employs top-tier technical experts to intentionally break or exploit AI models. They test whether these new models can be manipulated to assist in software hacking, network takeovers, or the creation of biological and chemical weapons. They're also involved in open source tooling. They create and maintain, inspect an open source software platform used by software developers, academic institutions, and other global governments to run standardized safety evaluations on large language models. That's some scary shit, dude.
Yeah. Would they consider that being implemented in for the car manufacturing of the computer industry in the car?
No, we're talking about again when you hear organisations and especially government bodies talk about artificial intelligence, they're talking about machine generative algorithms or large language models.
Because why I'm bringing this up, because people have had that thing about if you wanted to kill someone, what better way of doing it is by having your computerized car have a process of where the brakes don't work or the engine rams up high and jumps off the edge of the cliff.
Okay. In the UK, cars under current legislation, cars must be able to be driven. There must be the legislation doesn't call it a pilot, but in effect, cars must have a pilot that can, as far as I'm aware, that and I have to check this out, but I don't believe there's any legislation that allows for automated vehicles on roads, on public access roads.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm referring to. They're talking like if you want to take and mess with a car to make a car go
Yeah, there's no
suicide.
legislation. Again, as far as UK legislation is concerned, you must be able to drive the car.
Okay, yeah, but
The person behind the wheel must be able to, and believe that under UK law, the operator must be able to control the car at all points, at all times.
okay. But the thing of it is, when it comes to all that high tech equipment inside of the vehicles, or however, whatever the process is, you would think that they would want to have it set up to where have a separate system to where if they ever had to, they can look at a car and that process can be give them all that information that they want about the vehicle. You know what, like the little black box, how the black
Okay.
box is connected to all the other sensors in the car, and the computer could read that as well.
Well,
Space.
but Robert, let me just assure you that we're not in a generation of black boxes anymore. You're going right back.
We are. Sorry,
You're
we
going back to like
there
the
is,
old days again.
evidence of vehicle manufacturers being able to receive data. I know this is a big issue in the US at the moment, where certain companies are, I can't remember big car companies in relation to this, but these manufacturing companies are producing cars that will actually transmit data back to the company.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it could be GPS data, it could be cameras on in relation to how the monitoring, how the driver is actually controlling the car.
He
So,
actually did he actually did an episode on this where we covered this, okay? And it's like freaking it's so many multifacets in the technology going into these cars, okay? Like they're going to actually put so much tech into these cars that you're not going to be able to disconnect any of it, because if you do, you're going to harm your vehicle. You know what I'm saying? And it could be just something little like turning off the GPS. Well, you're going to need that so that you can have this running.
I don't know how that would work in the UK. Obviously, when a customer purchases a car, then they agree to a contract with the vendor and potentially
Well,
a contract with the,
ownership is becoming an issue when it comes to vehicles. Like they're moving in on the whole vehicle ownership thing. I mean, is it really yours? Does it really belong to you? You know what I mean? Now, back in the day, whenever you were buying cars and tractors and stuff, yeah, of course it was yours. It was your property. But now they're putting so much technology into it. Like, is it really yours?
But I can make an argument that the second-hand car market in the UK is thriving at the moment, because
Hopefully,
people not wanting to buy these new vehicles.
hopefully.
Sure, they may be paying more tax and they may be paying ULEZ fees and stuff, but consumers are still buying vehicles that don't have this these mechanisms.
Well, you know that they have apps now on phones for facial recognition, so that you have to actually use facial recognition just to start your car, right?
Again, if you buy a car that's 5 years old,
I mean, you know that they do have that technology out, right? Like literally, they've got that kind of technology out. And they were talking about this on Censorship Sucks, I think, about they've got cars now where every time you let off on the freaking gas and you hit the brake, it'll shut the car off. And then whenever you give it the gas again, it'll literally start the car back up. So they think that that's
I mean, if I was a British person and I bought, I don't know, well, obviously I'm a British person, but if I decided to buy myself a 1990s Ford Fiesta,
hey, that's on you,
idea.
dude. It's your fault. You know what I'm saying? I ain't freaking. I'm not saying bad things about you, but if you want to buy a freaking Ford Fiesta, you go ahead and do that.
I'm just using that as an example.
That's almost as bad as saying Festivas. I used to own a Festiva, dude. Have you ever heard of a Festiva? They were just before the Fiestas. They had the stick shift in the floor, and I was driving down the road one day. My stick shift just came right up out of the freaking floor, man. I had to pull the car over, grab me a pipe, stuck that sucker in the floorboard, and drove that sucker home. True story.
Okay. Interesting story. My grandfather drove a late 80s Ford Fiesta for 20, maybe even 30 odd years. Before he had to give it up because of age. Yeah.
With the technology and the laws over there, how does all that work in there? What's their laws about in the UK about the technology and the copy laws about,
I think we've been
You're
sitting
gonna have to
here.
be more specific.
Well, I think he's not really catching on that. He's actually hearing it as we speak. You know what I'm saying? Like everything you've heard tonight is exactly what you just asked. Like this is the English.
You've asked such a broad question.
well, like when you take a regular tractor and you make it into electric into a robot, like a clone,
Well,
where it runs by itself.
Right there is actually something that we've been discussing too. That's because, like, see, the right to repair is a big issue over in England. Okay, like you're not.
US,
not
even though
we
I
don't
think
get jailed
was
for
it
it. Not
UK
yet.
or was it the EU that brought in legislation? I think it could be UK actually, that brought in legislation good maybe 5-6 years ago about repairing your own white goods. So things like fridges and washing machines, and you could formally request schematics from the companies.
Then in some cases you can actually be jailed for trying to repair your own technology.
In the US, granted.
Yeah.
This is what people like Lewis Rossman talks about all the time.
You know. So there's a lot of things that you got to be careful about because it's a real deal, man. People are getting arrested, they're getting locked up for this stuff. And
Because here in the U.S., farmers are getting to where they actually have farm equipment they did with put that into the, and they're actually running that all over. And other farmers paying these farmers that have these robot tractors and equipment to do the process of the fields and all that. And that's a second income coming from it. And it's getting big about that electronics in farm equipment. And the farm equipment.
It's mainly related to firmware, so it's a software that's running as a general sort of thing, rather than the hardware. I mean, sure, when you come to firmware, i.e. Software that is stored on ICs, so chips, but yeah, generally speaking, as far as the use is concerned, we're talking about mainly software and intellectual property.
And I do want to make it clear that if you haven't already guessed, that I did find my talking points by this point, and I was able to pull them up and make it to where we can actually have a good conversation about what you're talking about. It took me a while to figure out where I put them on my filing system, so. But
going back to the UK point at the moment, in fact, this could go internationally, because I know there are concepts in the US federal government that is being reviewed in relation to digital identification. Early stages.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know.
How big a difference are they?
I know
Australia
you. I know you were real skeptical with me because I get a little carried away with it and everything. But you cannot tell me that freaking synth ID stuff does not relate to this, dude. There is so much going into that. Like they're getting tougher. Like this is going to be freaking one of those situations where you're going to have a freaking internet freaking identity, which means you're going to have a valid face on your freaking accounts, no matter what it is. It could be YouTube, it could be Facebook, it could be any freaking platform. They want a face. And you're going to have an internet personality. And faceless accounts is something that I've always supported. It's actually a movement where people freaking don't think that it's right, that you have to force people to freaking put an avatar up on their accounts. It started a long time ago.
Yeah, Synth ID is a specific technology to identify or to create watermarks through content generated through.
Yeah, but what happens if
and for this to be shown,
it's owned by Google, Google DeepMind, so it would only be relevant to Google services.
No.
Well, see, Google. Let's look at how much access Google has when it comes to search engines too. Okay. That's the thing. It's like when they switch those search engines over to frickin' their new setup. Instead of Google search, it's Google frickin' answer. You know, that's what we were talking about the other day.
But also when we talking about DeepMind, as I pointed out earlier, there have been contracts with various governments. I've done quite a bit of research in relation to Google, DeepMind, and the British NHS, National Health Service. That's been going on for good 12 plus years now. But this is this. You could argue that this could be a market monopoly issue as well.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And like, I don't see Google trying to shut down much on trying to monopolize it all, considering how many lawsuits they still have out.
Yeah, but you know that thing of where face recognition thing? Well, a few years ago, they was having people going around. They were breaking into ATM machines. They were smart enough. They have a device they do where they put it around their face, around their neck, and have a light shining in their face. But by doing that, it eliminates where there's no camera can pick up their face, where the look of their actually took a picture of their face because of the light blinds the camera. And
I'm not sure. I would think, well, it depends on the actual ATM machine you're talking about, but I would imagine
cameras,
that
they couldn't
ATM,
all of the cameras couldn't even take a picture of their face because of the light blinded, cover their face. with a big bright light, and it covered their face. And you can see
Oh shit!
them walking down the street in like New York.
Well, you know, the thing about that too, I want to point something out. Is like I was telling somebody about 2 years ago when it comes to like government offices. All right, there was a camera that was supposed to be set on a government office, and somebody had done something really crazy in the parking lot and drove away. And the camera couldn't even get the freaking license plate number. Okay. And I told them that, and I see this a lot, especially in convenience stores too, where they put these security cameras up and then they don't freaking look at the resolution. And they don't have really good resolution or frames per second when it comes to it, and the video is actually crappy. Okay, and that's the way it is with most of these supposed security cameras. They're just crappy freaking video, you know. And
I believe under UK legislation, the cameras or the screens have to be manned. It's a legal requirement that the monitors that are displaying the camera information has to be manned.
Is that for all businesses or just government office?
All businesses, as far as I'm aware. That might not be totally true, but I would have to. But last time I heard about it, and that was a couple of years ago now. But as far as I'm aware.
Okay,
yeah.
But and the question too is, what kind of cameras do they actually got too? Because a lot of places,
really.
What I'm referring to is if they don't have infrared camera where it operates in the dark.
Oh my God, Robert! Now you're going into now you're going into MI6 stuff.
Well, no. I'm saying,
hold on.
We're talking about cameras related to, I don't know, shop stores.
Yeah, but if you want to catch the person too, you know.
No, listen. Look, we're talking about laws that are going to shut you down on the internet because of freaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we are jumping off. We are jumping away from the point.
You are like going into way. No, you're going into left field. You're talking about, you know, freaking artificial intelligence in cars, and now all of a sudden we're talking about cameras and shit.
Yeah.
So
we are talking specifically about the relation to things like digital identification in the UK and potentially wider field. And
it is a crackdown.
Protection. The narrative of protecting children.
Yeah.
So how does that work in them schools? About I know you already said it, but in different things about like we call like them phones that they got for satellite phones. Okay, where if you don't have that and you have a satellite phone, it works a whole different way where it's not going through.
People in the UK, there is filled with at the very least 4G cell towers all over the place. Why would the average person in the UK need a satellite phone?
Well, if you want to talk to someone, if you get that done, they can.
We're not in the middle of the Sahara Desert. We've got as far as cell tower, 4G.
Robert's a conspiracy theorist.
5G, but 4G communication and telecommunication infrastructure. The cell towers.
Well, see, you gotta understand, Robert is a conspiracy theorist.
Free Hutchinson Free.
You're not even
take
going
up a language.
No, listen, you
United Kingdom.
You're not even listening to me. I'm
So why do
telling
you
you.
need a satellite phone?
Hold up. Robert is a conspiracy theorist. Everybody wants to freaking dodge out and avoid the government. And freaking there's a reason for it, because the government is a huge cabal that's trying to steal your information and sell it on the internet. Okay. Robert is like freaking.
Okay, believe that.
No, I mean he really does believe that shit.
Well, what I'm referring to is this.
Now hold up. We are going to bring this to an end because, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we probably cover about this. I don't think we've. And before we've already talked about the whole required ID or the face scans to make social media accounts and stuff, so we don't have to kick dead horses in the throat, or kick. How many times can you kill a dead horse? You know what I'm saying? It's like don't overdo it. I really, it drives me nuts when other people do it, so I'm not gonna do it. So
Fair enough.
I think we had a pretty good conversation. We've come up to an hour and 25 minutes and 51 seconds. And Robert woke up out of a dead sleep to come in here and talk about this stuff. So he got pretty excited. What it was, you see, he said he went into the bedroom and he sat down on his bed and he had the door open. He's like, I'm coming in here to cool down, man. I'm cooling down, that's all. I'm gonna be back up, because he was wanting to come in here, and what he did is he laid down and he fell asleep. I was like, the hell with that shit, I'm just gonna let him sleep, you know what I mean? So he gets up just before this starts, and he looks over at me and he gave me that look like, why did you not wake me up? He didn't say nothing, you know what I mean? I was like, I just looked at him and said, I figured I'd just let you sleep, dude, So that's the whole story.
Yeah.
So he's a little hyper. And we're glad you showed up, Robert. Thank you for showing up and being a part of the panel. We do appreciate it. Mark, thank you for that presentation. That was good. That was really a good show. This is something that I wanted to do with the Praetorian, because we haven't been able to do a solid episode for just the Praetorian in a long time. And I thought that this was good, because the last time I think we did the presidential elections. And I could be wrong.
Yeah. Sometime, yeah. Sometime ago now.
Yeah. And we just never been able to actually do a Praetorian episode, you know what I mean? So I think this is good. And later I'd like to see what's going on when it comes to your prime minister and the Makerfield results.
Again, even though Keir Starmer has resigned, he still has to uphold the office until there's a replacement there. Also, just because Andrew as the Makerfield by-election doesn't necessarily mean that he will be the next prime minister.
But
it's good, or that he will be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he will be.
But let me ask you something though, and I'm not really proficient when it comes to English politics, but when it comes to like the Makerfield result though, that generally is like an offshoot for the next step of actually becoming prime minister though, right?
No.
Most people who
I would make the argument that the Makerfield was acted as pawns in a political sort of game of chess.
Right.
They were voting for a local MP, and because the situation is happening, meaning that local or by-election could potentially make him alone to run as Prime Minister. But I would argue that it's been a bit disingenuous on the of the electorates there, because they are voting for a local MP.
What's the qualifications for that office?
Well,
Right.
hold up.
Sorry.
We are coming to the end of the show,
Okay,
so
yeah.
we got to end this before Robert starts talking about, genetically modified meat again. So
Yeah, whatever.
Creature from Uranus. Yeah.
don't say Uranus on the internet. Robert gets excited. I think about that too. So
Okay.
with that being said, before we go, would you give your socials, Mark, so that everybody can know how to get in touch with you if they want to talk to you?
Okay. I'm on minds.com under the username Medworthy.
All right. Now, with me and Robert, you can get in touch with both of us on minds.com through my account, which is Roger_Hansen on minds.com. You can also contact us on X, Roger Hansen at ROGLOL1973. This is on the Praetorian, which you can find actually on Minds as well. I do have a group on Minds called the Praetorian that you can check out, and we do make posts whenever we do shows. I have been doing short 15-minute videos on there, but I'm going to switch around to just putting the links with the description and everything into the group so that you can go to the sources that you need to go to in order to watch the videos. Besides that, joining the group is a good idea. You can go on there, become a part of the conversation. If you guys want to talk about what we're talking about, then you can make comments in the group with us and become part of the community. Come on these cool freaking live streams that we do and talk about interesting stuff. So you can meet Robert. Robert's an interesting guy. So if you want to meet Robert, hang out with me and Mark, then go in there and hang out in that group and be a part of it. So other than that, you can find us also on YouTube as well as Rumble at the Praetorian. That's a pretty good couple places to go to if you want to find us, but you can also find us on Kick, and you can find us also on Twitch, I believe. I kind of get lost in all of the names. I know we are on Kick, Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube. You can also find us on Element Matrix at Rogers Hangout as well. So like I said, if you like this show, please like, subscribe, share, make comments in the comment section so we can respond to you. It's cool to make comments in the chat section, but making it down in the comment section is just as important because it shows the channels, it shows the algorithms that the channel is active, and that is very important. So go down there and make a comment, and I guarantee you somebody will respond to you eventually, as long as you respect one another and don't say anything that's inappropriate, and or don't try to sell us subscribers. We're getting really sick of that too. So
no cryptocurrency cons,
yeah,
scams.
That I'd like to say thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day, morning, evening, whatever the time of day is for you, and we will talk to you later.